Hey, Pusnet, new little video. On this one, as you can see by the title, I call it Don't Quote Me. I've been reading a lot lately, and that's why the video has been a little bit more, plus a lot of other stuff on the personal life. But I've been reading a lot for other videos, and waiting also other books to come so I can be prepared for the next few talks that I'm going to do. But one I would like to talk about, so mainly what I've been kind of reading about is pandemic. From all the scenarios that a lot of people talks about economic collapse and all those things, I think the one that is a little bit more beside human natural disaster, which kind of happens a lot, would be a pandemic. And a lot of people say it's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's more the when it's going to happen. And actually, right now, there's two bad virus going on. And actually, I'll put a link on articles talking about those two viruses. One is a coronavirus, and another one is an influenza, but it's a certain strain. And when you talk about virus, so a lot of times animals give to humans the disease, but so it's one strain, and a lot of the influenza, that's what happens. That's why we talk about bird flu or swan flu, or it's just from where it comes. But if it comes to the human, what may happen, and not why we're a little bit more afraid of those things, is that if I can give it, and when we talk about giving it, doesn't mean that transmission, because all influenza just by droplets and everything, I can give it to somewhere else. But what can happen is that inside my body, it can mutate. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but in the course of one disease, the virus inside you can mutate at a speed that is unbelievable. And what can happen is that now the little disease that you have is a different disease, because now you give a different strain to somebody else. And so imagine now that you have this at a worldwide thing, and basically everybody is a manufacturer of their own disease. You can have a huge outbreak, and very hard to manage, because as soon as you control one kind of strain of the disease, another one is created by somebody else and stuff. So that's why they talk about the big danger of the pandemic being with human transmissions. And so that's why. So basically, I've been reading a lot about that because, like I was saying, I think it's one of the really, and obviously it's kind of a medical interesting, and obviously went into books, and I'll put the links of the books I've been reading right now, which I recommend. It's very well done. I'm not finished yet, but about halfway done, and it's very interesting because he really goes through a lot of the stuff. So even if you have no knowledge about immune system disease, it's really writing for a non-medical person, but still has a lot of information for medical people. But it explains a lot about microbiology, the different things, the different vectors and all that stuff. So it's very interesting for that. It's kind of everything is in one package. And the concept that I keep having is that a lot of people in self-reliance medicine recommend to stock antibiotics for any disease. And the issue with this, and I always had trouble with that, not that I don't believe in antibiotic, I mean we use it on a regular basis in a normal setting, but the issue I can see with this is, one, is to get the prescription to get them legally, or two, then the other choice is to get them illegally, and or what a lot of people recommend, go to the pet store and buy the other brand, then you're not quite sure what you're getting and stuff. So how to get them, and another problem is how to use them, because it's nice to have the antibiotics, but if you don't know when to give it, what to give it, because some antibiotics work on some stuff, some antibiotic don't work on other stuff, then that's another issue. So how to use them. The third thing as well is at one point they have a you can either lose them, or as well as that, so you cannot really reproduce antibiotic. And sometimes you go on forums and it's quite interesting, some people trying to do penicillin and all that stuff. But the other thing as well is that it can expire. And again, there's data that shows that you can keep it longer than what the manufacturer, but we won't get into that debate. But truly, this is a big issue with the antibiotic. And more I read about the pandemic, which is interesting, is that the portion of disease that antibiotic would help is kind of minimal. Because most big pandemics, so the influenza and stuff, are virus. So basically, antibiotic won't work. There's other ones like cholera, C. diff, Clostridium difficile, which another one. Some antibiotic can work on this one, but another thing that a lot of people don't see, and so again, if you're limited in money or resource, and again the bag that you carry and stuff, I think the best investment, and again, don't quote me on this, that's why it's the title, and it's just me kind of brainstorming on that, and as me preparing for those kind of things, I'm looking at, we don't talk a lot about hygiene and how that can prevent a lot. And when you read so pre-antibiotic creation in the 14th century, 13th century, they did have pandemic. So how come people survive in those? And I'll explain in a while one of the reasons why they do this. And it seems to me that hygiene would be a better way of investing your time and money than trying to get antibiotics. One, because you can, it's a culture, so it's something that you can reproduce. It's something that even if you leave your gear, you can always kind of manage, because it's concepts of how to manage and everything. And there's some good books out there. Actually, that's the books I've been waiting, and I'll do a video on that, on disaster and then in third world country. Because if you look at UNICEF, World Health Organization, when they try to control a lot of outbreaks in the third world country, that's what they aim for: good water, good sanitization, good disposal of waste, so urine, feces, all that. So if you focus a little bit more on your hygiene, there's a lot of bacteria, disease that you can clear off. So instead of treating the disease, preventing the disease is actually a better aim for it. And other outbreaks like influenza and all those things, and I'll put again links for articles down on how to prevent them. Just stay away from people. And this is where it brings the SIR system. So basically, what the SIR, it's a model of how disease can. There's different ones, but that's one of them, and it kind of understands. And actually, I'll put a link on a game that I have now on my iPhone. So if you have an iPhone, I think it's also on a computer. So I think you can just have a link and stuff, but have it on my iPhone, and it's called Plague Inc. And basically, what you are, you're a disease, and you can be a microbes, you can be a virus, you can be all the different kind, a worm, and protozoa, and you can be a whole kind of different microorganism. And the goal basically is to infect the whole Earth and wipe out the human race. So it seems like a weird game to be, but what's interesting about it is that by putting your shoe in the shoes of the enemy, you kind of understand a little bit more about how disease and pandemic can happen. To give you an example, and we'll come back about this, and I'll introduce that. In one time, in one of the games I was playing, New Zealand was the last kind of place that I couldn't wipe out the people, and then you can make your virus a little bit more viral or more killing. And what happened is that everybody was either dead or healthy. And because they closed all their airport and stuff like this, my disease couldn't spread anymore. And this is where it is. So basically when you have a disease, it's basically all the susceptible. So that means everybody that is susceptible to get the disease for whatever reason. So if it's in the water, that means everybody that is susceptible to drink that water. If it's in the air, everybody is susceptible to breathe that air. Mosquitoes, so for example malaria, that means if everybody is susceptible to that vector. So this is the whole susceptible. So from susceptible, once you get in contact with the disease, you get infection. And from infection, there's kind of two ways that you're going to go. Either the disease will kill you, or you will get better and feel better. And then you can go in the recovered period. And when you're in the recovered period, and this is how immunity has been transferred to us from generation to generation, is that as people for the Black Plague and all those big pandemic has survived, their immunity in their system, as they had more kids, has been transmitted to them, and then to those kids, to the other kids, and et cetera, all the way up to us. And so that's why now there's some disease that before we could get, and now we're immune to it. But now as well is the disease evolve as well as we are, because it's just like us. It needs to survive. It needs to thrive. It evolve as well, and then sometime we can get the disease, but now it's a different genetic of the disease. That's why we're not immune to it. So it seems to me. And the reason of the video is that it seems like to go straight to the antibiotic is not a very good one. It seems like better would be to have good hygiene, and so look at your system of how you're going to get rid of your waste, disposable. There's some good PDF out there, and I think I have one, and I'll put a link on it. If not, there's great books on that. You can Google them and search. As well as your water, make sure that your water is very clean, very purified, and also have a good discipline. So that means that if you go outside for whatever reason, when you come home, clean your hands and stuff. Another one's that a lot of people in self-reliance doesn't in general that talks about medical stuff don't seem to discuss a lot about is disease that would come from animals. And if you look in the past, it's pretty much how we got our disease. Well, in a big pandemic, or if the system, the grid would collapse and everything, a lot of people, that their strategy would be like to start hunting pigeons and squirrels and everything. Well, you're not used to that. Like, I mean, when I go in the park, I don't start chasing the squirrels. I just walk in the park and stuff. So I'm not in contact with the squirrels. But if I start hunting them because I need food or whatever reason, well, now I'll be more in contact with whatever disease that they have. And I don't have the immunity, because immunity comes from having it a little bit at a time. So if I get it, if I'm frequently with the same animal, I'll suddenly develop the immunity. So that's how, when we get kids and get chicken pox and all this, we get our immunity for when we're older. Well, now with animals, it's the same thing. We can get that. So again, the antibiotic doesn't seem like it's going to help on that one. Another one, and I'll put a link on that one, on the big thing about influenza, I always have masks and all that. Masks are good and they're great if you're in a crowded, closed environment. I'll remember closed. And actually there's some studies, because the studies of those pandemics is very hard to get, because they usually be in the time where there was no studies done. But there's no really good reason to have a mask if you're walking on the streets and you keep a good distance with it. Again, it's to have a good hygiene with other people, so keep a meter apart from people. If you're in a crowded, closed room, yes, have a mask. But if not, something like a buff or another mask, just to remember yourself that if you touch your nose, because if your nose hits and you have your hands now that touch a knob or whatever, it has the virus on their hand, and then you're touching your mouth, now you're going to take it. So pretty much a mask is more to remember, but it's not to wear the N95 and everything every time you go somewhere. It's more if you stay in a closed environment. Anyway, I wanted to see what you guys think, and talk to you soon.